And of course, all of this heat, it can really have a pretty big impact on your health if you don't protect yourself.
That's right. Our 9 News health expert, Dr. Payal Kohli, joins us this morning. Thanks for coming in.
Good morning, guys.
This is a big deal. How does our body regulate heat?
Yeah, so there's a little gland in our brain called the hypothalamus, and think about it like the thermostat for our body. But it's not as easy as flipping an on and off switch like with the thermostat. It regulates our blood vessels, it regulates our sweat, it regulates our water, and it regulates our hormones. So when we're outside and it's really hot, like on a nice day like today's going to be, the little gland triggers. It tells the blood vessels in our skin to dilate, and that takes the water out of the skin and brings it up to the surface. We sweat, it evaporates, and we cool off.
Yeah, so what do these experiments show, like if people are exposed to the heat for too long, what it can do to us?
This is important because we've been having these crazy heat waves across the country. And so what they did is they took a bunch of people and put them in different temperatures. And then they slowly turned up the heat, but also turned up the humidity. And at 104 degrees Fahrenheit, which we've seen some places across the country have, our basal metabolic rate started to go up. So our heart rate got faster, our breathing got faster. We basically started needing more energy. Now, if you turn up the humidity and the heat, guess what? That thermostat stops working because it's almost like closing off your AC vents. So our skin can't evaporate because it's too humid. So you actually started having people rise their core body temperature, which over a prolonged period of time can result in coma or death.
Whoa. Are there certain people that are more affected by heat?
There are. So if you think about how we regulate our temperature and all that, so newborns are not very good at regulating their temperature. That's why we have to control their heat. Same for the other extreme of age, which is the elderly patients. They just don't have good responses. Their receptors aren't as responsive, so they can't do it. Pregnant women, because they're pumping for mom and baby, and so to regulate the heat for both can be challenging. And then you think about people who might be on certain medications, like beta blockers, diuretics that make you urinate, neurological medications, all of those can affect essentially that body's thermostat, so they can very easily sort of tip over.
So as you mentioned, today's going to be a hot one. As Ed's been saying, this week's really going to be a hot one. We have a lot of people that are going to be out dancing their booties off at the Taylor Swift concert, so they're going to be expending
including
even extra
you
energy.
as well.
I did last week, so now I'm in the clear. This is my resting time, y'all. I'm getting old. I can't do it 2 weekends in a row. For people like that, though, you know, like you're planning on expending an excess amount of energy. What is your advice for this week?
Yeah, so I have to be a little careful because you have to look at, again, not just the heat, but also the humidity. Yes. You have to look at what types of activities you're doing. So if you're dancing your butt off because you're a Swiftie, you're actually generating heat with dancing. So you have to be extra mindful of essentially staying overhydrated so that you can really replenish those salts and the liquid that you need in your skin to evaporate. Having a little fan and using a little spritz, that's a great way to cool yourself off quickly. In fact, if you're feeling some of those effects of heat stroke, which is kind of nauseated, a little bit of a headache, a little fatigue, you spritz yourself with some water and use one of those little pocket fans. That's a great way to help that thermostat open up some of those vents and really cool you off quickly.
Perfect.
Last question. What are some signs of heat stroke? What should you do?
This is really important because heat stroke can be life-threatening. You literally have minutes where you really have to try to cool that person's core temperature down as quickly as possible. So if you find somebody, elderly or anyone, who seems like they're a little confused, they're not responsive, their body feels very hot and flushed. Think about their heart rate and their breathing rate. It's the same sort of stuff we talked about. Their metabolic rate is amped up, they're breathing heavy, their heart is beating really fast. They're unarousable. You want to cool them off quickly. So if you can't move them into a bathtub or something like that, try to spritz them and get some cool air on them as quickly as possible and call 911.
Yeah, some really good advice and some things people are going to want to be on the lookout for this week because, of course, as we mentioned, it's going to be a hot one out there.
Yeah, temperatures into the 90s, and 90 is normal for this time of year, but this is our hottest time of the year.